for the culture. Guys, welcome back to the Joyage Kingdom. I'm Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the little voice inside your head for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, thank you for listening or viewing on whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. If you're watching us on Twitch, you guys can earn an extra, 100 points every 10 minutes you're watching on the BetFury's Twitch account. Because this podcast is brought to you guys by BetFury Gaming, a crypto company looking to bring you all motherfucking generational wealth. We're bringing our educational content and podcasts over to their decent audience. So if you're watching us on Twitch, you can earn real cash prizes. It's pretty lit. And if you're watching us on Spaces, if you're excited for this conversation, if you're excited for the whitelist giveaway, hit that retweet button, retweet the space. I'm really, really excited for this. There is a giveaway. I'm gonna delete the first pinned one I have. If you go to the second pinned tweet, there's the enter giveaway requirements there. So I'm really excited to get into it. We also had the Joyage Torch Mint that just started a couple days ago. If you scroll the third pinned tweet, that's my own Joyage NFTs. If you want to get in on that, if you like my journey, each torch is 0.08 ETH. Just see me on Twitter. They're all private sales if you want to get into that. Today, we have Paul, co-founder of Playful Studios, which is building PlayWILDCARD, the NFT project y'all are here to learn about. They're a Web3 powered video game for gamers, fans, and collectors. So all sorts of people can get in on this, powered by Paradigm and Polygon Studios. And again, there is a whitelist giveaway. Make sure you check it out. We'll also be announcing that later on in the stream. Yeah, please help me in welcoming Paul to the Joyage Kingdom. Let me see those heart emojis. Ready for this? Dude, welcome to the show.
GM, thanks for having me. It's great to be here, man. It's good to see
Hell
you.
yeah, man. 100%.
I like the glasses.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. The glasses. There, I remember one of my first podcasts I did with someone I was like nervous to stream with. I was like, man, am I really gonna wear these glasses? And I remember it was like very early on in my career, and I didn't wear them. And he had seen my videos before. The first thing he said, he's like, "Oh, where the fuck are your glasses?" And I was like, "All right, I'm never taking them off ever again."
I like your background too. I got some cool stuff here. Signed Walt Disney and signed Stan Lee right there, looking down at me.
Really?
Yeah, my wife is amazing. She got them for me as gifts. I wasn't there when he signed it, which is sad. But yeah, they're two of my heroes.
That is crazy. That's a massive flex, dude. That's a massive flex. Damn. Well, listen, I was gonna open with a different question, but you brought up Katie, and I had a question that involved her because I thought it was really interesting. Yeah. You've been building PlayWILDCARD for like 5 years. When did blockchain enter the vision? Has it been there since the beginning? And if blockchain was not involved at all, if Web3 wasn't involved, how do you think the experience launching the game would have differed without Web3? Like, what was the catalyst? All those things, you know?
Amazing question. So, yeah, I mean, we've been working on WILDCARD for 6 years. So, completely honest, did not start as a Web3 game. That's actually an advantage in this case, but I got to tell you the story a little bit. So, WILDCARD started as a game that was with this kind of new vision. We sort of had two things in our head at once. On the one hand, we're like the biggest fan of Pokemon and Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, these kinds of collectible card creatures summoning games. And we were like feeling like, why doesn't a game exist that actually brings that fantasy to life in a real way? Like, obviously the Pokemon games exist and they're, collectible card games, but that thing that you see when you go watch like Pokemon movie, which is like this epic battle between the trainers and they're down there on the field together with their monsters. And we're like, why doesn't that experience exist? Like let's go build that. But then we had this other thing in our mind, which was, this was kind of like, so this was back in, oh my gosh, 2015 or something. And this thing had like started to happen in the last couple of years at that point, which was, we were seeing that like as many people were watching people play our games as was actually playing them in some cases. And I just thought it was the most amazing phenomenon ever. This is kind of like the birth of streaming. I remember this article in 2014 that was half of all YouTube views was Minecraft in 2014. Like just the entire YouTube platform. I know, it blew my mind. So we set out to say, all right, a lot of these games that are popular in streaming, like League of Legends, Minecraft, they were actually built before Twitch. Like they were designed and created before that started happening. So what would it look like to build a game that knew that was going to be like if we started from the beginning, knowing that there would be people tuning in to watch, knowing that like a competitor in WILDCARD might have 10,000 people showing up to watch them play, like what would that change about how we designed the game, And so we set off on that mission. It took us several years just to find the fun of the game because it's incredible. It turns out it's incredibly hard to like take the strategy and deck building and like the kind of slower paced meta of something like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering and combine that with like real-time action from like, like an action game, like an Overwatch or a Call of Duty. And so for like several years, it wasn't great. Like it was like, I don't know if this idea is going to work, you know. But we found that fun, and we finally found that perfect balance. And then we started to try to solve for this other part of the vision, which is like, okay, what's the awesome things that we can do now to make this connection between a competitor and their fans and the people that are tuning in to watch more of a real thing? You know, like even like what we're experiencing today, it's like, how can we make how can we bring these people who are showing up, who are these fans and spectators, how can we bring them into the experience? So we started reaching out to like Amazon and Twitch and YouTube, and we were like, hey guys, we have all these really cool ideas, but we're going to need your help to build them. Like one of these ideas we had was, you know, like what can happen in like a baseball game, like the World Series, where maybe the winners will like sign the ball and like throw it up in the stands, and somebody will catch it, and that thing's worth like a lot of money now because they were
Never
there
me.
and they do that. Yeah, exactly. And these platforms were like, yeah, no, like we're not really doing that. We're not going to build that. And so in our case, Web3, when we finally kind of realized what the opportunity was, Web3 was that answer to that problem that we had. And there's a lot of other things that Web3 enables for us, but like, unlike a lot of, I mean, not a lot, but some Web3 projects are like kind of started with, this is a cool technology. Now, how can we make a game for it? And in our case, like we had been building the game for a while, and we had this problem we wanted to solve, and Web3 is the answer to that problem. So yeah, that's there's a second part of that too. This gets into a little bit more of probably stuff we're going to talk about in the future, but basically, like we started that journey in Web3 a year and a half ago, and what I started to realize was like, you know, this is a brand new set of users. Like this is a brand new type of audience. Like what we're looking for when we come in as a Web3 user is something new. It's like we're seeking opportunity. We're not just looking to play a game. Like we actually want to own something in the game. We want to like be able to have these assets that could grow in value, and that can be this thing that doesn't just deliver fun, but also delivers opportunity. And that's been the hardest part of the last year, is figuring out like, okay, how can we really deliver on that? Because that's a new thing that Web3 users are looking for that we haven't necessarily designed a game for before. And I think we have some really cool answers to that, which we can get into later. But yeah, so that's the other part of like the Web3 of it for us.
I mean, let's just get into it right now.
Yeah. Okay. So there's this like inherent, let me tell you a little bit of a story. So
yeah,
beginning of my career, the first games I worked on were the Age of Empires series. That's what I started on when I was 19. I came out here to Dallas. I joined that little tiny team. We shipped Age 1, Age 2, Age of Mythology, Age 3, like Halo Wars. Yeah, I grew up there. I was there for 12 years. Wow. And then we left and started an iPhone game company, which like now, that's of course, yeah, you start an iPhone game company. Back then, like nobody thought that was a good idea. All my friends, all my game developers were like, what are you doing, bro? Like that's like ringtone games and like bowling and solitaire. Like, what are you doing? And actually, like our first ideas were to make a game that was like the strategy games we had worked on, right? Because like we just came off Age of Empires, so we're like, well, it'll be cool, right? You'll have like a strategy game on the iPhone, you can tap the units, move them around or whatever. And we worked on that for like a month or two, and then it seemed obvious to me that like, yeah, no, not really. Like we could make a strategy game for the phone, but I don't think that's what this audience is here for. Like I think they're here to play a different kind of game, something that's like way more casual, something they can play in like in line at the grocery store or whatever. And we had to like take a step back and be like, you know, we really need to think about this audience and what they're looking for that's different than the Age of Empires audience, because this is an iPhone audience now. And so that's what led to that next game we worked on, which was called Words with Friends. It was an insane, I mean, we have 500 million players for Words with Friends. So like just insane like scale. Yeah. I mean, I think I don't even, it's 10 times larger than the Age of Empires audience. But the reason that we were able to do that and discover that is because we were willing to ask that question of like, what is going to be new about making a game for the iPhone? And so we have been asking ourselves that question for WildCard and Web3 now for like a year and a half. Like, it's not enough for us to just make a game and like slap Web3 on it or put some, you know, some of the items on the blockchain or whatever. Like, I really want to take advantage of this opportunity, what Web3 provides, which is like the ability to actually like own assets for our community to come alongside us and own incredibly valuable things in the wildcard ecosystem that we're building together. And so like our initial thoughts, just like when they were coming on the iPhone, we're like, let's make a strategy game. So our first thoughts were like, well, you know, we'll just let them own like the items in the game, you know, like, you know, like if we're making an RPG, like we'll just let them own the sword and that'll be great. But I think we realized that like, yeah, that's not exactly how, I don't think that's the real opportunity here, because I think people are most excited to own things that can be worth a lot in an ecosystem like this. So we like took a step back. We're like, all right, well, if you look at a competitive game like Wildcard, which comps to games like League of Legends or Rocket League, or, you know, Call of Duty, what are the things that are actually the most valuable in those games? And it turns out that it's really about the competitive ecosystem. Like it's about like owning teams and being a part of that. If we're successful and we make a great game and it does, our community embraces it as an esport, which again, it's not up to us. Like our job is just to make a great game. The community is the one that decides whether it's good enough to be that. But if it is, those assets can be worth, you know, I mean, that economy can be worth a tremendous amount in a game like League of Legends. And typically that economy is owned by the publisher and the developer. Like normally we'd have two parts of our business. We'd have the part where we make the game and the IP. And then we have this other part that's very profitable where we're running the esport. We're selling like franchise rights and league and team ownership, like what happened here in Dallas with Team Liquid. And what we realized over the last year is the real opportunity is to take that second part of our business and put it in the hands of our community, build it as a decentralized platform that can be owned by the community, because that's tremendously valuable if we're successful together with this.
Do you think the Web3 community is that community at this point in time?
I don't know, bro. I think that they want to be. I think that they can be. I think so. I was having this conversation yesterday with another team, another founder in the Web3 space, and we were talking about that tension, right? I think this is the one you're kind of pointing to, which is like, you know, this audience shows up and they're not all of them are necessarily the players of the game. Like I know that a lot of them want to come in and maybe they want to buy an asset and flip it a week later for more, you know? And like this thing happened when we launched Wildcard as a Web3 game, where it was like, we basically opened the door to that community. We said, come on in guys. Yeah. And like, you're here, you're excited about our game. We announced that we raised 46 million from Paradigm. So awesome. And then like they're in our house, right? And we're like, so what are you here for? You know, like what do you want to have fun with? And they're like, you know, bro, I want to acquire something in Wildcard that can be worth a lot of money. And we're like, yeah, that's new. That's not something that I've like as me working on Age of Empires Wars. I never had a customer that said that, right? That's like a brand new thing. But at that point, I have like two choices. And again, this was like last year. I was like, all right, either I can kick them out and slam the door and be like, yeah, we're not here for you. Like, we're making a game and it's just for gamers. And like, I don't know what you're doing, but you're not welcome. Or I could be like, no, we're going to figure this out. Like, I get what you want. I get what you're here for as a Web3 user. And because I am too, like I buy NFTs. I'm in that space. I get it. I want my portfolio to go up. So like, that's fun. That's also fun. It's a different kind of fun. And is there a way that we can take that set of users who has that particular set of goals and bring them together with the other thing that we all want, which is a game that would be played by millions of people, and have those two groups like live together harmoniously in the same house? And I think that we can, but this is the hard thing. Like if we were just doing the obvious thing of, like I said, like, oh, we'll just sell you a sword for $100,000 or whatever. What that does is it takes those two people, one who's here to play and the other one who's here to speculate or own, and it just like mashes them together and pretends they're the same person. I don't think they are the same person. And I think a better way is to say, look, this person wants to bring money and value into the ecosystem, not necessarily by playing, maybe not even by owning a team, but possibly by, you know, acquiring and owning things and sort of putting their capital into the game and they want to return from that. And then this other group of millions of people is coming in for fun. Can we build a bridge between those kinds of players? And that's what we're working on. And I do think it is possible. So that's the good news. Like, I don't think it's either or, but I will say that at least for the work we've been doing, building that bridge is the hard work. Like, that's the new thing. That's the new thing about building a Web3 game that was not something I ever had to do before when we weren't working in Web3. But I really think that that's the tremendous opportunity here. That's what people really want, I think.
Well, what comes to my mind when I think of that, because I just saw a comment from Wild Shiva here in Twitch. Shout out everyone at Bet Fury. When World of Warcraft selling the Sword of 1,000 Truths NFT, it just rings in my head of like Ready Player One. With you know, everyone's gunning for that one thing at the end of that, like in the beginning, that first segment of the movie was so cool. But the thing was, like, there's millions of things to do in that world. It's just like for a certain subset of people, that was their goal, was to win this little thing. And I think it's also similar in NFT lands. Like, there's a small majority with a big following, you know, and they say all the things and everyone sort of just follows. They pick one of the people that they like, and whichever, like, of the 7 people that they go with, one of those 7 is what they're going to roll with. And that's what it feels like everyone's doing. When in reality, I think that the people without all the followers have, I think, very different opinions, because I also maintain the belief that most people in NFTs are trading in the 0.01 to 0.3 category of NFTs. And they're just here just cause, like, it's fun. It's an industry, and I always link it back to like the fitness industry, because I came from that background. It's very similar. It's just so brand new that we're literally like creating that as we go. And I was wondering your thoughts on that, because with like the Ready Player One concept, because we had the monkey, or not the monkey, we had the Dookie Dash, the key that sold for $1 million from Mongrel. Mongrel. What are your thoughts on that? Because you're right. I think there is a balance, and I think we can create that. But how does that happen, and how far away are we from that?
So again, I think we're not far away from it at all. I think that what happened to Dookie Dash was a perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? So it's not that everyone in Dookie Dash is going to win $1 million or whatever. Like, clearly that one guy brought his skill in, and he's won in a zillion and was able to win that prize. And so that opportunity, like, the way I think about it is, it's kind of like two different layers, or, you know, if you want to look at it that way. So, and again, it's not either or. So that top layer, which is like the assets that can be worth millions of dollars, that can exist. Like I said, I was making that example of what happened here in Dallas. The rights for Overwatch team rights here in Dallas sold for $30 million. Like, this was, you know, it was in the bull market for esports, but yeah, the values for those kind of assets are insane. And they're, you know, they're at that level of like the Dookie Dash, because the prize pools and that attention economy really does drive tremendous value. But that's the top end, right? And I think that there's that middle layer, which is what you're talking about, which it's not either or. Both are things that Web3 bring to the table for games. So one opportunity is the top, which is, it brings the opportunity to own some of the most valuable things that could be worth millions. It also, though, creates that opportunity for that kind of middle tier of assets. So, you know, again, our game WildCard is a collectible card game. So this is like, you know, I don't know if you have a Magic Gathering or a Pokemon collection, but some of those cards can be worth like thousands of dollars if you happen to get a great pull. And so that should also be something that the players own, like, because why not? And this is like a thing that we talk about all the time with Web3, because usually a question I get is like, yeah, but gamers hate Web3. So what, you know, how are you going to convince them? And I'm like, not by talking. Like, we just have to make a great game. Like, come on, if we're all honest, what is the game that, like, when we're done working and we turn everything off and we're like, okay, cool, I'm going to blow off some steam now. Do we fire up a Web3 game right now? Probably not. Probably we're firing up our favorite Web2 game at the moment. But that's just a matter of time. Those games that are that good that you would choose to play them even in your spare time in Web3 are coming. And when that happens, and when those features like, hey, I open a card pack and I pull some amazing cards, and you can actually own those and turn around and sell them on Magic Eden or OpenSea. And, you know, gamers will never go back from that. It'll be like a game that doesn't have that will be like, dude, why would I do that? Like, you're going to keep my cards for me? I don't think so. You know, so I think both those layers exist and are extremely valuable to at least a game like what we're building.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be interested also, if you guys are watching this in Spaces or wherever you're watching this, what your thoughts are on that. Especially if you're in Twitch. Like, Twitch culture is very different. Like, I just kind of jumped into the Twitch culture a couple months ago, and it's very different from like YouTube. Like, with YouTube streams, people will chime in like, once or twice a stream if they have a really compelling thought. Versus Twitch, they'll kind of just like throw their thoughts in. So if you guys are in spaces, definitely hit that bottom right icon, retweet this space. If you have any thoughts, just leave us a comment on all this stuff that we're talking about. If you're on Twitch or YouTube, just drop in there, because we'll probably take it and run with it. I like taking things and running with them. It's fun.
Same here.
And like, while we're on the topic, I was gonna say, like, what are your, because it seems like you're no stranger to going left when everyone's telling you to go right, and then you keep going that way when everyone keeps telling you this way, and then eventually you win.
Like, yeah.
What do your game developer colleagues and friends think? What do they think right now?
It's the same thing that I've gone through now, like at least 3 times. Like I was saying, when we left, this amazing studio, Ensemble Studios, we're working on Halo Wars and the Age of Empires games, and we're like, we're gonna go make an iPhone game studio. And again, it makes all the sense now. Like, nobody would question that now, but at the time they thought that I was having like a midlife crisis or something, because it was like, because the iPhone had just come out, and I think the App Store hadn't been announced yet when I first was talking about this. I knew it was coming though. And like, the narrative at that time was, nobody's going to want to play games on their phone in the West, at least. Like people would say, oh, well, yeah, they do that in Asia and the East because like they ride trains, or they, it's just a different market, and people don't want to play games like that in Western countries, or it's just not going to happen here. It's a different kind of behavior. And the thing is, like, at the time, so just going back even a little bit further, there's this thing I fell in love with working on the Age of Empires games, which is we chose intentionally to make a game that wasn't like sci-fi or fantasy. It wasn't like targeted to just nerds like us, and we were like, we chose to make a historical game. We chose to make a game that was bright and colorful, and we focused on things like accessibility, and we were hoping to expand the audience a little bit. And so when I saw the iPhone and I understood the opportunity to make games for that, that's what was going through my head. I was like, still, when we're making PC or console games, we have to deal with the friction of, like, you either have to have a Windows gaming PC, which is like a thing that my wife doesn't do, for instance, or you have to at least be able to use a controller, which, again, for people who aren't gamers, didn't grow up playing games their whole life, like, even that's a point of friction. And when I saw that iPhone, I was like, that's going to be like a Game Boy that my wife will buy, basically. So like, I can reach this whole new audience now because of how accessible this device is. And I kind of fell in love with that. But didn't really have a good answer to my friends who were like, why are you going to do, my game developer friends were like, why are you going to do this? I was like, I don't know. I just think that we can discover a new type of gaming experience here that's going to be really valuable. And so let's go do that. And it's the same. And so now everybody's like, well, that was totally obvious. I mean, everybody knew to make an iPhone game, right? And I'm like, no, it wasn't obvious. Like I said, it was actually like, I felt like an outsider. And that's exactly how it feels in Web3 right now. It's like, most of my game development friends are still looking at it like sideways, and are like, man, I don't know what you're doing. Like, this feels not like it's a good fit for games. And my answer to that is just, let's see what you think when there's one truly great Web3 game, and then when there's 2, and then when there's 5, like, we'll see. But until that's happened, it's kind of like, it's not a worthwhile conversation, because trying to convince a gamer or even a game developer that they should come work in this space when there's not even a single piece of proof for why there's great games here yet, like, that's hard. And I think all the skepticism and the criticism is valid. But for the folks who are doing the real work and are working to make those great games, we'll see what happens. Like, all I know is that you look back on what happened in mobile games, and those first games that came out that were good, that planted the flag. I mean, Words with Friends was one of them, but like Angry Birds, Candy Crush, Clash, like, those games had this. Yeah, exactly. They had this insane like first mover advantage because they believed enough to stick with it and make that great game. And they're like forever franchises now because of that. Yeah. And the big companies like the EAs and the Activisions and whatever, they were late to the party, and they can afford to do that because they'll just come in and buy the companies that have the best games, eventually. But it is a similar kind of feeling now. I think we're at the beginning of a revolution, and those first games that get it right and are truly great games, like, it's gonna change everything, I think.
Well, dude, while we're on this topic too, someone I had a conversation with a few months ago that I didn't expect the conversation to turn that way was formerly D's Nuts, but now they're D's, an NFT project. And Papa Nut, the guy, the founder, him and I are friends now. Really cool dude. I don't know, you may know him already, but
Not
he's
yet.
you do?
No, I don't. Not yet.
Oh, you don't? Well, he's a big time video game developer on like the iPhone stuff. He created some, I can't remember them right now, but he created some like the biggest iPhone games, very similar to like Paper Toss. And he was talking about Web3 gaming in that conversation with me, and I didn't really think about it that way. But he was like, with the iPhone games in the beginning, we wanted to make a simple game that you could play on your toilet for 5 minutes, clock in real quick, clock out real quick. And I just never thought about it like that. And he was like, I think that could be an angle that a lot of projects go to. It doesn't have to be this big, well thought out ecosystem. There's all sorts of different games out there, and I think a lot of the NFT projects were launching, they want to do a game. I think maybe that might be worth looking into, because it's a lot of fucking work, and if you don't have the right framework and the right like team and everything, that's a huge like beyond huge endeavor. We've seen so many projects that dropped a year and a half ago now, 2 years ago, middle of 2021 bull run, that had this promise of a game, and they're like, look, it's going to be 2 years before they come out. Do you think now those projects are going to come out, or are we just not going to see them? Is there going to be a boom, or like what's it going to be like, you think?
I think it's a little rough, honestly. I saw this tweet yesterday, which you might have seen too, which is like, what's going to happen now? Because a lot of that money was raised 2 years ago, and generally money is raised on like a 2-year runway, you know, and like, so what, you know, are we in for a rough time now? And I think it's possible, but at the same time, if you look at projects like us, so I track like how money is raised in Web3, right? And it looked like a bell curve, where the most money was being raised right when we raised, which was like at the beginning of last year. And a lot, I mean, tremendous, like billions of dollars went into studios like us that are, some of them are out there like we are, because we happen to have a game that we had already been working on for 4 or 5 years. But a lot of those companies are still in stealth, and you haven't heard about the games they're working on, and they're really high quality games. So I think what you're going to see is some studios and some games run out of gas in this time frame, but you're also going to see a next generation, a new wave of games that all got funded at the end of the beginning of 2022, that are going to start to be released or announced, and it's going to start another run of like really high quality, you know, proven teams that are building games. Like I think that's what we're going to see now, like this year. That's my feeling. I know some of those teams. I know the things they're working on, and like I think that's going to be coming in the summer of this year or after.
And while you're here, because of you have a more of a unique angle on gaming, because you came from before the Web3 world came, the concept, because I didn't really know this, but like the concept, and I don't think most of Web3 knows this, the concept of games ending is also like normal in the normal gaming sphere. Like whether like there's been a game running for X amount of years, and they're like, look, it's just gonna be over. And like they have this like beautiful like ceremony, almost like the Mexican funerals, where they're like celebrating the time that they had to play the game and stuff. And versus here in Web3, if anything of the sort is mentioned of a game ending or like blah blah blah,
it's not accepted.
This project, like $5,000 in this thing. Like, can you just, I guess, elaborate on that concept? Because I don't think many of the Web3 users are aware of this at all.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's that. The fact that games, we have a word for it. It's called sunsetting, you know, and the best games that have these huge runs for like 10 or 20 years, they can still get sunset if the economics of it aren't working out, if the cost of like running the servers doesn't match this kind of dwindling user base. It is possible for the other thing to happen. You know, we were talking about the game that I started my career with, Age of Empires, working on. Age 2 had its best year last year. Like it had the most sales and the most players because it was remastered on Steam, and like, so it has this viable community. And there are games like that. We point to EVE Online a lot because my friend Hilmar is the CEO of that. It's an amazing game. They've been running. They're more successful than they've ever been. So it is possible to create evergreen games. But I think that Web3, to your point, like especially Web3 users who might not be familiar with it, it takes a lot of time. That's the first thing. Like you look at any of our games that we love the most, like, I mean, Fortnite, League of Legends, like at the point where that game looked like an overnight success, they had already been grinding on it for like 10 years. You know, it really takes time. And then, yeah, like the risk reward of game development is high on both sides. So the risk is high. Most games don't ship, fail, don't find their users. Like it's just the reality of game development. It's really hard. But the reward for the games that do is astronomical, which I think is why so many people are so excited about this, because the first game that gets it right, that really like pulls in players from not just Web3 but Web2, it will like overnight multiply the audience of the entire Web3 crypto audience by like 10 overnight. Because like, you know, popular games are tens of millions of players easily, right? And that's like the entire, like if you combine every single Web3 game right now, it doesn't even match up to like a moderately sized, like a Rocket League level success, right? And that's why I think Paradigm invested in us. That's why the people who believe in the space see that opportunity. They're willing to be patient. But to your point, like Web3 users, there's a bit of an education there because it's not going to happen overnight, and there are going to be a lot of projects that fail, and you know, but there will be those projects that go on to be worth a tremendous amount. I mean, again, all it takes is a great game. Gamers don't care about like they won't look at it as a Web3 game, or they'll just look at it as a game, another game they want to play, and they're like, oh, does it have Web3? I don't know, whatever. I'm just playing it. I love it. And that hasn't happened yet. That's the crazy thing about this opportunity is like, if you sit back and you're like, will it happen? The answer is yeah, definitely it's going to happen. Well, when? I don't know, probably pretty soon, because like somebody was saying on the chat, like the heap of money that got piled into Web3 from like November to February of last year was insane. And that money will crank out some really good games. And that's going to change the whole narrative around this, I think. So you were talking about small games. I want to give a shout out to this game that I don't even think they know I know about them, but they're called Cyber Stadium, and they're doing this really fun thing where they're letting people invest in prize pools that they then can get won like a week or two later. And I think their prize pool's up to like 250 grand or something like that, which is significant for like a, you know, a competitive game. And they're just like a small game. They don't have, it's not a AAA budget or anything like that, but they're doing that thing where they're like organically letting the audience and the Web3 users kind of invest in themselves and invest in that ecosystem and grow it organically. And I'm just so excited by opportunities like that. That's what you're going to see us starting to do this year. Is we have this amazing fun alpha version of the game, and we want to start letting more and more people play it and begin to compete with it. And, you know, and again, you were saying like that thing that happened in Dookie Dash, like that's the first spark of what I think is going to be something that's happening, you know, just blowing everybody away like a year from now in these games like Cyber Stadium, like ours.
Yeah, it really does only take one. And for people who are familiar with my content, pretty much anytime I talk about something that I'm excited about, and it's usually like, I'm a metaverse VR maxi. I fucking love that stuff. I think there's no world where we don't head that direction, and it doesn't become the coolest thing ever. The concept of it only takes one is so obvious to me that it's like hard for me to fathom. I'm like, guys, what the fuck? Yeah, it takes one, like literally only one, and then everything is probably coming. Like, oh my god, I always tell this story. Like when I played soccer in high school, we had this team that we never could beat for like 50 years. We never beat them, and then I transferred to that school, and I was like, we're beating them this year, and we fucking crushed them. I beat them like 3-0. We have not. I checked like the records. We have never lost to them ever since that game. Like 10 year, whatever it was. It's the funniest thing.
When that happens, everybody afterwards is like, oh yeah, no, I always knew that was going to happen. You're like, bullshit. I was there when you were like, oh, that's never going to have Web3 games. Don't, you know, like, oh, come on. But that's fine. You know, like the narrative shifts, and suddenly like we'll be having conversation, you and me, like 6 months from now, a year from now, and everybody will be like, oh, we always knew that Web3 gaming was going to be the big next thing in gaming, and now it's happening. Like, okay, sure. But I saw one question go by, which is, when is our mint? Because somebody's excited about it. So just so we get there, our mint is on 4/20, so it's coming up in just 12 days. It's the Wild Pass. It's our most exclusive access to all the opportunities and what we're building. And we haven't announced the mint price yet. Yeah, I know everybody wants to know the price. That's coming really soon. I keep promising everyone on Discord, like we are announcing the price really, really soon at this point. So you'll find out about that. And I just can't wait. This is going to be our first kind of actual owner audience within Wildcard. There's only 4,444 of these. And what's most amazing from my perspective is like, I look at what we're building, and I look at like that we are trying to reach tens of millions of players, that I know that that's possible. We've done it before. We've built games like that. And then I think, man, if you had a game that was as big as as some of the things we've created before, and you have an exclusive audience of just 4,000 people in that group, like how much value can you provide to that tiny little part of this much larger audience? And I'm like, oh, that's insane. Like, and so, you know, when we talk about the things that we want this NFT to represent and the value we want it to represent, I feel good about my ability to like stand behind that and say, hey, look, we're all going on this journey together. We understand building a big AAA game like this is a lot of risk and a lot of reward. But if we're successful, we will be able to live up to these promises. So I'm excited about that.
Oh yeah, man. Hell yeah. And the cool thing with these trends too is like they come and go. There's stages of each trend. Like right now, the trend, the phase of gaming we're in is it's not good enough. You know, Web3 games suck, and like it's all the same conversations over and over. But that's just because we're in that one phase, you know. But it's okay that that's where we're at. You know, I had a conversation with Giancarlo a couple months ago, and he was like, "I'm here because it's good. Like I'm happy that I'm here at the beginning. I'm glad that there's degeneracy because that's the beginning of anything, you know. And like that's the fun part is you get to say in 5 years that you were there. You remember. I mean, it's in every industry there are OGs. And the ones who don't give up, at least, who stay consistent, they're here and here and here. And with the fitness industry, like someone like Bradley Martin is just a household name in the fitness industry because he's literally been here since the very first week. And that's where it's really, really cool. And I like to talk about that because we are a cult, guys. I'm sorry to say we are a cult.
Right. We are. It's all good.
We're proud. We should be happy that we're in this cult, you know?
That's right. Because I'm here to say, I mean, I've been working in games for 25 years. And this opportunity isn't bullshit. It's real. What I think everybody hopes that Web3 gaming can be is real, and we will get there. And enough money has shown up in this industry funding studios like us to make sure that that's going to happen. Even though not every game, not every studio is going to succeed. That's not how game development works. But there will be the ones that do, and it's going to, like, we're all going to make it together in that way. So, you know, and I love that audience. I love the early adopters. What's funny is like they show up even before Web3. It's always the case where you have this initial group of users that shows up with a product. We call them the golden cohort because for whatever reason, those people end up being the most valuable, the most engaged, the most connected part of your audience, no matter what scale you get to. And so this thing that's already happening in Web3, where it's a small audience that is hoping to be at the beginning of something big, like that works. Like that is kind of how we look at that and the kind of value that we can grow with that audience. So
yeah. Speaking of funding too, with it was a prediction I made in 2021 that artists would be a big mover and trend at the end of at the end of 2021, I predict that in 2022, artists would be the biggest thing. It just felt like that. We had Invisible Friends, we had Hate Beast, we had all these, you know, Instagram sponsoring all these artists. So it seems like I was on point there. At the end of 2022, I predicted gaming would probably do it. And then we saw Elio Trades, we saw Gabe Lid, and then you guys, like all these companies were the gaming. And who knows how the rest of 2023 will go. However, the one thing I feel like I do have my finger right in the pulse on is with all these conversations I'm having is like, you're right. You just said it. Like, there's a lot of funding in these games, and because it's like it just makes sense. So like, we need like a ton of money is available, and for content creators, there's a lot of content creators who watch my channel. There's a lot of opportunity right there, like with the real companies, and then with the gaming projects. That's kind of where I've shifted my focus to target audience for a lot of my content. I'm like, if you're trying to work in Web3 and make money in Web3 and be full time, you gotta either latch on or build your own thing. But if you're gonna latch on, try and reach out to the bigger companies because they've got actual money. If you're reaching out to the PFPs that are, a lot of them are just a slow bankrupt. I mean, they're slowly going bankrupt. That's just not a good place. I was like, for these gaming projects, if you're a content creator, do anything you can to stand out. So while we're on that, what can people do? I know you guys have a lot of things within your ecosystem that you guys have talked about on the Llamaverse podcast. So I just want to bring up in this one about what people can do to sort of stand out within here, get some opportunities in Web3.
Man, I love that you brought this up because I don't think I realized it, even though it's such an obvious parallel. So what we feel like we're getting to do as a game studio is we're getting to swim in a blue ocean. Like we're getting to build a product in a blue ocean. I don't know if you heard this phrase before, but like I think it was first time I heard it was a Nintendo presentation at the Game Developers Conference. And the president of Nintendo who's the most amazing guy, was talking about the difference between a blue ocean opportunity and a red ocean opportunity. So red ocean is where all the sharks are swimming around and they've already killed everyone. So it's like full of blood and there's just constant sharks. And like, so if you go and try to build something in a red ocean, you're swimming with sharks. Like you're just, it's like very difficult. It's saturated. Like that's what making a mobile game is like today, right? It's a formulaic thing, and you're up against these giants, and it's incredibly hard to stand out. And what Nintendo was saying is they like to look for these blue oceans where that hasn't happened yet, and where they can build a product and really stand head and shoulders because for whatever reason, the incumbents and the big companies and the obvious thing, they haven't gotten there or they can't get there. And that's what's happening in Web3 games. You've seen companies like Electronic Arts and Activision sort of try to dip their toe into Web3 a little bit, and then the audience is like, fuck you, NFT, like we hate you. And they're like, okay, sorry, never mind, we're not going to do that. We won't make this, we won't take a step in this direction. And so like, as much as those big companies might want to play, what I was going to say is the same thing is true for the content creators. Like I've literally had conversations with enormous like Web2 streamers who are like, dude, bro, I actually love NFTs, but I can't say it on my stream because people will fucking kill me if I say it. Like I can't, they will literally like burn my house down if I say the word Web3 on my stream. So I can't, even though I love it. Right. And so that opportunity that we're taking advantage of as a game company to go build a product in this blue ocean, the exact same thing exists for content creators. For those people who are talented, amazing content creators and who are willing to take that risk, right? Because gamers, like the narrative right now is gamers hate Web3, which is, no, they don't. Gamers like great games. That's it. That's as simple as that. But anyway,
Dr. Disrespect literally has an NFT project game and he's streaming it to thousands of people.
Exactly. You think that would, but still, even that isn't enough to like convince all the content creators that they should pay attention. So there's a tremendous opportunity right now for content creators to make their name and to plant that flag in this space early, like we're doing. And exactly what you said, like to be one of those early brands that becomes a definitive Web3 content creating brand. For us, this is like all we think about right now because we have two jobs, in our opinion. We have to make WildCard an amazing game, but we also, because it's part of the vision, we have to have WildCard be an amazing platform for content creators. And content creators in this case, competitors, but it can mean shoutcasters, it can mean referees, coaches, like we got all sorts of cool ideas. But we look at what we're building as not just a game, but also a platform for that. So this year for us especially, it's going to be about creating those opportunities for content creators to do things with WildCard that you couldn't do with another game. And you're like, all the features we have for this year are all about that kind of stuff. And not just about like, hey, you can like control the camera in some neat way. Like, no, it gets back to the thing I was saying at the beginning, which is like our dream come true is like, you could be streaming WildCard and your fans could show up and they will show up in the stands and they all have their wallets, and you could like that WildCard basically let you do a giveaway of unique collectible merchandise directly to your fans live during the stream and just airdrops into their wallet. Like that's one of the amazing things this technology lets us do. And I'm just so excited about that because from a content creator's perspective, it's not just about that blue ocean. It's also about like when we're doing a stream like this, like, I don't know, you know your business way more than I do, but from all the content creators that I've connected with, it's a brutal business because there's this like stack of Web2 companies, whether it's Twitch and YouTube and whatever else, that sort of sits between you as a content creator and your audience and extracts all this value. And Web3 lets us like kind of like work our way around that and connect you directly to the fans. And I think that's going to let the content creators and the fans capture way more of that value. That's what I'm really excited about anyway, at least for our particular game.
Well, we're seeing a lot of big changes. Like we're seeing right now, Rumble is trying to attack YouTube and Twitch and like start to be like post anything you want. We're seeing Kick, I think it's called. Surface up. A lot of people are jumping on Kick and they're saying fuck. Well, I don't want to say that actually because we're literally on Twitch, but like that's going on. And it's crazy because they're all. Here's the crazy part is like right now it's awkward and uncomfortable and everyone's saying we don't want it, but once we get to a point where people say, wait a second, these other platforms aren't doing much for the viewer or the creator. They're like, we want something that does. And then when they say, oh, wait, that company's doing it, then all the people at Twitch, at YouTube, at insert companies say, we want this. And then we see the exact, which we just saw. We saw YouTube Shorts battle with TikTok, battle with Instagram Reels, and they're all fighting to give people stuff. And then some things don't work. Instagram shuts it down. Instagram gets a bunch of shit for it. And then TikTok gets another uptick. YouTube Shorts gets another uptick. And like, this is what we're going to see with the gaming world too, with all the things. And that's why I'm really, really excited. And before I ask this next question, I wanted to alert the people for the giveaway. We will be choosing the winner very soon. If you guys want to enter the giveaway for 5 whitelist spots for Wildcard, for Play Wildcard, really excited for that. Shout out to you guys. All you have to do, retweet the space. Retweet the space, hit that bottom right message icon. Also, if you're just enjoying the conversation, I think it's been great. Hit that retweet button. Follow myself, and while Paul Play Wildcard dipped out because the phone was about to die, I was told by Finn. So and they're tagged at the top though. So all you have to do is click that button. They're tagged on the title. It says Web3 Gaming with Play Wildcard. Just hit that button, follow them, give all 3 of us a follow, and then screenshot wherever you're at. If you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Kick, I guess if that's even a thing, I don't even know. You're probably not on Kick because I'm not actually streaming that, but screenshot wherever you're at. Tweet it and tag us. I want to see our fucking beautiful faces all over everywhere. This next question was going to be the first question, but then we ended up going in a different direction, which I'm always down for. And I thought this would be great because it'll provide extra context around Play Wildcard, I think, which again is minting very soon on 420. So you guys have the parent company, Playful Studios. You've already built a few things, like we've said, including, at least in the bio, this is where I was able to find Creativerse on Sandbox, which is cool. And then Lucky Sail on console PC, as well as Quest 2, PSVR, and Stream VR, which makes me excited because, like I said, I'm a big VR maxi. I'm a Metaverse maxi. We'd love to know like that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So, we were speaking earlier about extractive businesses. The games business is not the friendliest place, and it's not the best for innovation and creation of new things. I think this is due to the history of just like, how initially, if you wanted to build a game, your only choice to get into the hands of people was you had to work with a publisher because they had to work with a distributor, and they had to get your game onto a disc, into a box, and into Best Buy. And like the steps required to do that was not something any independent developer could ever do. And so what came out of that was this like huge industry of publishers and developers working together. And that business relationship between publisher and developer, it's fine, but it's extremely extractive, to use that word again. Like the publisher will take the majority of the money and the developer gets a royalty, and it's a difficult business. And what ends up happening a lot is companies will like sell themselves, like we did with Ensemble Studios. We sold ourselves to Microsoft. We still worked on several good games there, but eventually Microsoft closed that studio down. And, so there's this like cycle of like startup, sell, startup, sell, startup, sell. And it doesn't create a nice continuance for teams that might be able to otherwise stick together and like create amazing things over the course of decades. And it's sort of really disruptive. So my wife and I, who's the co-CEO and co-founder together with me of that parent company, you were saying Playful, 12 years ago now, we started that company with this dream. So, and I'll tell you where it came from. I was pitching games, and I had this opportunity to go visit JJ Abrams and his studio, Bad Robot, in LA. During that pitching, I forget which game it was that we were pitching. And I saw this like, his studio is amazing. It's just this little company that he created, which is Bad Robot. It's not little, but it's like his personal production company. He gets to just go like incubate like all the ideas that are his favorite ideas and things that he wants to work on with his friends. And then if one of them becomes a thing, then like he'll spin it off into its own company, and it'll get investors and like a giant studio will come in and they'll turn it into some big movie. But at the same time, he never has to lose that like company that is him and his friends just kind of working on their favorite ideas. And I remember visiting that studio, and it was like set up like a living room and had like a kitchen. It was just wonderful. And I was like, man, I wish games could be like this, and because film has been doing that, building business like that for a while. Every time a film gets started up, if you watch the credits at the very end, there's a little company like an LLC that is just created for that film. And it lets all the investors, everybody kind of like just own that IP without necessarily having to own the talent, own the people that made it, right? So we started this studio, Playful, with that dream in mind. We were like, could we do that? Could we start a studio that we don't ever have to sell, and instead we can make games and then spin those out into their own companies? And we've been working on that for 10 years when it finally happened, which is Wildcard was the first. Like we had put, almost $10 million of our own money. This is coming out of Words with Friends money, like into Wildcard before. Yeah, it was a huge bet, a huge risk for us. We believed in it. We were struggling a little bit, to be honest, for that, what I was telling you earlier, because we were trying to get the Twitches and the Amazons and the YouTubes of the world to build features for us, and it wasn't really working. But we discovered this opportunity in Web3 that led to this conversation with Paradigm. They loved the game. That's the other thing that happens. Like when people play this game, it's one thing to look at the videos and like watch the trailers and stuff. But anyway, they played the game. We had a term sheet like maybe 24 hours later. Yeah, we can go a little over, by the way. I'm good. Okay. And so like that then allowed us to really see this dream come to life. We spun Wildcard out into a company called the Wildcard Alliance LLC or Incorporated, which is its own subsidiary. Paradigm came in, Griffin Games came in, and some of our previous investors came in and invested in that, and allows that company to really be entirely just about that game. Whereas Playful Studios just sit there as the parent company and doesn't have to go anywhere, you know? So, so yeah, that's where that all came from. And to your point, Playful has produced other games like this. The Lucky's Tale franchise is probably our biggest one. I think that one has 5-6 million players now. It was a VR game initially, and if you're a VR maxi dude, you gotta check it out. It's a great game, especially the remastered version of it, which is on, like you said, it's on PSVR, it's on Quest. It's really fun. And then New Super Lucky's Tale, which is the one we worked on with Nintendo, that we then also brought to all the other platforms. I'm really proud of that game too. So it's working. So cool. That model is working. It's really cool. And I get to work with all my best friends. So
dude, that is fucking cool. That is really, really awesome. My dad is like super big in the Silicon Valley world. And he also built out the country's first I don't know exact words, computer science educational program management thing. And he was like the head of it. He represented the United States at the Microsoft conventions and all those things. And I didn't realize how much of a badass he was until like I literally turned like 20 something. But he was a badass, and he like did all this crazy stuff. And he was always like a nerd, right? And I feel like in the first half of my life, I kind of resented him for it almost, because I was like, oh, like, why aren't you cooler? Why don't you lift weights and stuff? Like, why are you such a nerd? But he's a beast, right? And so I remember he would always bring over like the new Xbox thing. We try it out because he's like, you know, in creating a new program for the school, and then shipping that out to other schools and doing talks and whatever. And he like brings, you know, the Quest or like the whatever VR stuff, and test them out. And I was always like, man, these are so clunky, but it's so fucking. It's crazy how immersive it is, even though it's not quite immersive. But like, you know, one Twitch here, like one extra, you know, a really good set of glasses one day, a good sound system, whatever. I was like, we're so close to that, and it makes me so pumped. It makes me so pumped.
That's the thing about Web3 too, man. So this isn't just like, we've been talking a lot today about how I can see this opportunity coming, and I can feel that the moment we have the first truly great games, where again, I define that as just a game where when we're just in our spare time and we're not on a podcast, we're not working, we're not whatever, it's the game we would turn on just for fun. And once one of those games is a Web3 game or more than one, like it's going to change everything. But the other thing though is when we were doing work in mobile or VR, you know, there's some of us like you're describing yourself, where you can see that potential. You're like, dude, I know when other people get to see this and feel this, and that's already what's happening with Wildcard. So we have, you know, I don't know, 36,000 people on our Discord right now. And we will do these events like play tests and quizzes and like game nights and stuff like that. And I have never experienced a level of engagement from an audience that I experienced with this audience. Like, it's just, the numbers are insane. Like, we're used to tracking things like we call it conversion rate in mobile, right? Where like, if we like have a community and we do a contest, like we're like really happy if we get like 4 or 5% of that audience to like show up and engage. And in Web3, it's like 80+%. It's insane. And that is a force of nature. Like, other game developers don't get this yet, and they won't understand it until they're building in Web3 themselves. But I feel like I've got like this just insane energy in my hands to work with that, you know, for the people who are here and they're showing up this early, like that's good. That's a superpower for Web3 games. And I think when other developers realize it, they're going to want to tap into it too. But you know, we got an early start. Same thing with you as a content creator. I think it's the same kind of thing that's going on.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for all the things. That's why I'm a content creator here. And that's why I never made DJing content, never talked about, you know, I mean, I could probably count on my hand how many times I've made a top 5 NFT projects video. I just don't care about that. I'm just like, no, dude, the industry here is here to stay. Like I said, I came from the fitness industry. I just view a lot of similarities there. It's just an industry. That's all it is. Just another industry with a lot of cool tech. And I've got a lot of, cool connections in this space, really cool people that are building. And I'm just really excited. And so I do want to talk a little bit about Polygon, but right before, I do want to announce these giveaway winners right now.
Sweet.
So guys, you have 10 seconds left to retweet the space, follow me and Wild Paul and Play Wildcard, and screenshot and tag and tweet us. That is how I will choose the winners. I'm choosing 5 people right now. I'm going to play some cricket sounds while I'm doing this because I haven't set up my RodeCaster to have better sounds, and I tell myself that every single day, and I just haven't done it. So I'm gonna choose some winners right now, and then we'll go. So let's do it. Let's do it.
GG.
Oh shit, wrong one. Hold on.
That was good though.
All right, here we go. Here, I'm just gonna scroll. I'm gonna be scrolling, and like I said, by the way, for people who did participate in the screenshotting and tagging us and tweeting us, I'm mainly scrolling through those, and then I'm just gonna double check that you're following us and all that stuff. So the more entries, like the better. I want to see my beautiful glasses and his beautiful beard all over the timeline. That's what I'm trying to see.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We got first winner, Pikachu. Oh, hold on. Shit. This is the one. Doge, Vader, or Pikachu, Bot, Troll. You are one winner. I'm gonna DM you right now. So I'm gonna DM all the winners first, myself, because otherwise someone's gonna make a fake account and then try and scam me, like it has happened so many times before. So I'm gonna DM you. I'm gonna screenshot your page so I don't forget later. You're the one winner. I'm gonna so congratulations to you, real quick. More crickets, real quick, while I choose another. Ah, damn it, wrong one. There we go. And we got Nikki. Congratulations, Nikki. Let's fucking go. There we go. All right. All right. Winner, winner, winner. Let's go. I'm going to DM you right now, and I'm going to screenshot your thing. I need a better way to do this. So if you guys have better ideas for how to choose these winners faster, where I'm not manually doing this, someone please help me one day.
Dude,
here we go.
This is what I was talking about. We're going to make this automatic in Wildcard. Your fans are going to be in the stands. You're going to be like, point to them like, you won.
That's so great. I love that idea. I love that idea. All right. Next winner, Treasure Concept or Bembella OG. Congratulations. You are another winner. That's the winner number 3, I believe. Gonna screenshot your page. Awesome shit. Awesome shit. Next we have Genesis Truffle. Congratulations, brother. You are the winner as well. Let me give you a couple claps. Let's fucking go. Congratulations.
Let's go.
Gonna screenshot. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. And our final winner, I believe this is number 5. We have Shred Thetics or Tanner 1215. Congratulations. You are the final winner. Let's fucking go. Whitelists are out. I'm gonna text you right now. LFG. Let's fucking go, dude. Thank you so much for everyone who's listening. There's a lot of y'all who have seen since the very beginning of the space. So I hope the conversation's been awesome and epic, because for me it's been epic, and I feel like everyone also agrees, because there's a lot of y'all who have been here since the beginning. So I appreciate y'all. Here's what so I like doing some like rapid fire Q&As to wrap. But before I do, this question came up because it's in the news a lot, right? Polygon gaming studio. I talked to Bryson a few weeks ago, and he was like, yo, by the way, Polygon just kind of became a gaming studio, and just no one really said anything about it. And I was like, you're right. You guys, and it's crazy because I'm like, that's a huge, I would have thought that would have been all over the news, but anyways, it wasn't. You guys were early to them, really early.
Yeah.
And there's other blockchains like Chronos, like Avalanche, that are also doing cool stuff. Why Polygon? What about
we got a little hidden secret. So for those of you who follow Polygon, you see this guy all the time. His name's Chad. He's a very handsome fellow with a red beard, red hair. He shows up all the time on the Polygon podcast. Well, Chad used to work on Wildcard, and he lives like 3 blocks down the street from me. So we had a little bit of an early in on the Polygon team. Yeah. And but to be totally honest, at the beginning, he was like, hey, I know you guys are talking about blockchain stuff. Like, I started working for this new company called Polygon, and like, I don't know. I can't like necessarily recommend him yet, but you should talk to him or whatever. Now, I think we all love them, but like, that was at the beginning of that thing that you're saying. And we didn't really know it at the time, but they had this vision of becoming like the gaming blockchain, like the gaming publisher in Web3. And they hired Ryan, he was the head of YouTube gaming. They brought him over, and they started building this incredible team. And like, we saw that, and we saw that the quality of the talent there, and we were like, this is the team we need to work with. Like, it's not just about their technology, which is great, but just the quality of that team and their support of us. And that's such a big deal, like it's more about, if I pick up the phone, can I talk to someone? Can I actually like get the support that we need when we're building? And they just have the most amazing team in Web3. I will easily say it. Them and Magic Eden, by the way, like you guys, the same thing. Like, people I don't think understand the quality of the team that Magic Eden has. you got, from our perspective, like I'm old. I'm not going to work with somebody that, I mean, I'll work with anyone, but I'm not going to get into like a really committed relationship anymore at this point, unless I just know that that team is in it for the long term. And both those teams, like they have blown us away.
Damn. You know, it'd be cool. Later on, you know, once PLAYCARD's out there doing some stuff, post mint, to get like a group convo with the Polygon team and talk about what you guys are working on. I think that'd be sick. Would love to lead that conversation. I think we could talk about some crazy shit. It seems like everyone here is loving the conversation. Some eye-opening stuff. I agree. There has been some things that I just didn't think about them that way until you said it. So that would be sick. So we're gonna enter.
I was just gonna say, like, people just gotta go look. Like, you look at the people who are on those teams at Magic Eden and Polygon, and just go dig into their Twitter and their resume, and it's like, oh shit, like this guy was like the top Valorant player for like 2 years, and this other guy was like top Fortnite player. Like, it's just those two teams are just seriously legit gaming teams. So
hell yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, 100%. Yeah, totally good. Let's do some rapid fire. They don't have to be rapid fire. There are a few of these which probably will be, because they're like, what's your favorite restaurant kind of thing. But there's also some cool things that may not be. So what are your thoughts on, because we talked a little about VR, we hit on VR a little bit. Thoughts on AI, because that's popping up. Thoughts on how it's going to be integrated, how you guys maybe even would integrate it if you guys are.
We already are.
Genre.
Yeah, so AI is, I think everybody knows, it's just going to absolutely change everything. And we are already using it. We already use it to help us with concept art. We don't ship any of the art that's AI like directly in the game, but it's an amazing tool to like, I can just be like, normally I would have had to go to one of our concept artists and like try to explain what was in my head. And now I can go to Midjourney and like come up with something and then be like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And it's like, it's just an amazing, it's an amazing tool. It's going to show up in engineering. It already is. And it's also showing up in like writing and narrative design, where we can like work with ChatGPT to like help invent new characters and give them a voice. And like, it is badass. The other thing is, you were asking about VR. We were early, you were early, but it's absolutely coming. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that the moment this technology is as lightweight as the glasses you're wearing right now, maybe not without the thing on top, but just the glasses, yes, that like, it'll just be this thing that everybody owns at that point. And we're not there yet. And I think people got really excited because they thought it could get there faster, but that doesn't mean it's not going to get there. Again, there've been billions of dollars continue to get pumped into that happening eventually, and it's coming. So those two technologies are going to be everything. Gaming, it's going to just have this immense impact.
Yeah, I mean, when I talked to Brett Malinowski, who's a thought leader in like the business sense of Web3. He's really big on AI, and he talked about one of the things. He's like, what happens when Midjourney just comes out with the video version, and you can now create video, and you can. And he's like, what then? And I was like, oh my fucking God, I don't know. And he's like, exactly. He goes, it's so good. And I use Midjourney almost on a daily basis. I love just like, I'm one of those nerds. Like, I'll just pop into Discord and just type stuff in and just see what I can come up with just for fun. It's just the wildest thing, because like, it's good shit. It's really good shit. And it's fun, dude. And it's like, right now it has utility. You can use it right now. I use it for almost all my scripts now. And honestly, it does the majority of my research now, because you can input a URL.
My favorite thing, which is coming in like probably like a year or two, is something where you could just take like a video that's filmed with your phone that just has like my kids running around in it or whatever. And you could be like, now turn this into like the Avengers. And it just is like overlaying like all the characters in the background. So you can like make a movie that is just like in your backyard, and then like type in something and it turns it into this other thing. It's incredible. And all that stuff is like, it's getting built right now. I just hooked up with this studio on Twitter. I think it's called Wonder Studio. And they're already doing that, where they can like overlay a game character on top of somebody in just like a cell phone video. And it's amazing. So yeah, it's insane.
Very cool. That is super cool. All right. Man, we need to have another podcast, because there's like a million more things I want to talk about. But we'll do some Q&A, more on you a little bit, a couple things on you. So like, obviously in your professional life, you had no problem going left when everyone was going right. Have you been like that since you were 15 kind of thing? Has it always been? Were you like a quiet kid? Were you a loud kid? Were you good in school?
No, I was terrible in school. I just did the bare minimum, because so I would like go up to a class and I would hide like a game programming book inside of my like chemistry book, and I would like pretend to be reading, because I was just so like, school was super boring to me, because I had this other stuff that I was already really interested in, and I started making games when I was like 12 or 13. So I've always been into that, and I just, it distracted me from everything. I don't know if I've always been contrarian. I think maybe I have. I definitely these days I'm always scanning the horizon, looking for the opportunities for games to expand and become something else. Like Nintendo is like this too. They're like my greatest inspiration. Nintendo is always asking the question, like, look, we love our existing audience. We love the people who already love Nintendo, but what about the people who aren't playing? How can we reach them? And they like continuously do these brave, courageous experiments. Like Labo, you remember that? The thing you can build out of cardboard and you can like put your Switch into it and make all these really cool things. And like people see that and they're like, what the hell? But it's because Nintendo is willing to take these crazy chances. And I'm just so inspired that I remember, we were talking about contrarian earlier. I remember when the Wii first was announced, and I'm at Ensemble Studios, right? So we're working on, I think, Age 3 at the time. And everybody around me is like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's not even a game controller. It looks like a remote control. And I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like I was just like so enamored with the fact that they were trying to make something new and different. And they weren't just doing the same thing over and over again. And turns out the Wii was the most successful console of all time. Like they nailed it. They created something that was more accessible and to a larger audience, and everybody wanted it. And they did it again with the Switch. So like, to me, that's the real opportunity. Gaming, it can feel like to us as gamers, like it's here, it's arrived, everybody's already a gamer. It's like, no, actually it's not. There's so many people that are still like, yeah, no, I don't know how a game controller works. Like it's got like 15 buttons on it. I don't know what to do with this. Like I got one right here. I remember when I was first dating my wife and I was playing some game and I handed it to her and she's like, what? I don't know. I was like, oh yeah, I grew up with this, but if you haven't, it's like, that's kind of overwhelming,
It's very overwhelming.
I just think that gaming still has so much more to go. And that's what's really exciting, that we're still at the beginning of that.
Yeah,
that's
1,000,000% too. 1,000,000%. I love consuming that. This is a question more to hit back a little bit on the Mint. It's on 420. Is there extra utility for Mary Jane Stoner out there or something? Like, what was the thought there?
Hey, it just happened to be the right date. That's all. We're looking at the calendar, working with Polygon, working Magic Eden, and we're like, we could mint on 420, and everybody's like, that's what we're doing. Like, all right.
I love that. You talked a little bit about Nintendo being one of the people or the companies you look up to. Are there any people specifically that you look up to in the gaming world?
Yeah. So Aonuma-san, who is the creator of Zelda, of course, Miyamoto-san, who's the creator of Mario and Zelda. I have so much love and respect for those folks at Nintendo who are just, like I said, just courageous, willing to try crazy new things and willing to look outside of what games can be. And our game industry is just always following that. Like I remember Breath of the Wild came out and I was like, yeah, well, now we're going to see like 10 years of Breath of the Wild clones. And of course, that's what's how, every game turned into an open world game and every game turned, and it's like, and Nintendo is just amazing at doing that. And so really most of my heroes are there, those guys at Nintendo.
Hell yeah. And not to get deep, but do you have a biggest fear, like a morality type of fear, like something like maybe even irrational?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, dude, the thing we were talking about earlier, AI is incredible, but it's so disruptive that I don't think that as humans, we are prepared for or even capable of wrapping our heads around what the next 10 years is going to look like. Like there's like this point, and it's actually called in this circles, it's called the singularity. It's this point where like AI starts making AI better. And it's already kind of happening. Like people are using GPT-4 to like write code for GPT-4 or GPT-5. So like we're already getting to that inflection point, and it's going to be incredible, but it's also scary. It's also like, I don't think we can imagine how the world is going to change over the next decade. And so, let's just try to hold on. Let's try to hold on to each other and just like focus on the loved ones in our life as we go through this crazy time and see what happens on the other side of it. I mean, the good cancer will be cured by AI in like 5 or 7 years and stuff like that. So it's amazing, but the scary parts of it will go along too. I watched that show Black Mirror. You ever watch that?
Oh, dude, I've seen everything. Black Mirror.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like a glimpse into some of the things that could be really scary about it. So yeah, that keeps 100%. Me up.
Final question. Easy one. I don't know if you watch Netflix or if you watch any shows, but when you have time, if you're watching shows, some people just don't watch shows, but if you're watching a show, A, what are you watching? And B, what's the food of choice that you're plopping on the couch with You're just eating that food. What is it?
I can show you, like, this is my home theater that we're in right now.
Oh,
So there's some
I
popcorn
love
right
it.
there. So I was just watching Last of Us 2, or sorry, I mean Last of
Nice.
Us the show with my daughter on that screen. We were like, I think we're on episode 5. Of course, I played that game, but the show is just incredible. Like, and I was super anxious because I love the game, and I was like, man, don't fuck this up. But they did such a great job. I remember even seeing the posters and being like, I don't know if that is the right set of actors or whatever, but they have just perfectly nailed the feeling, the vibe, whatever. And usually I'm eating popcorn and Reese's Pieces, to answer your question.
Damn, that's fucking lit. I love it, dude. One, thank you for coming on the show. This was a great conversation. I had so much fun. I feel like we learned so much stuff, and we dropped some serious fucking game. Like, this is a sick podcast.
Dude, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. It's a blast to be here, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, man. Do you want to shout anyone out before we close this up?
I got to shout out Wild Sheba, who is our amazing community mod, has been hanging out on the channel, talking to people. Thank you. Also asking questions that is like putting me on the spot. So thanks a lot for that. Yeah. All right.
Shout out Wild
You
Sheba.
also got some alpha, which I didn't know this. The price announcement, the price of the mint price will be announced on 4/10. So in 2 days, and then the mint is on 4/20. So show up in our Discord and be there for the town hall, the spaces that we're going to do on 4/10, where we will announce the mint price. We've said over and over again, it's going to be affordable. And guess what? It's going to be affordable. We have not changed our mind on that. So,
let's fucking go. I love it. And on the 10th, I will be in New York, guys. So for next week, I will be in NFT NYC. If you're going to be there,
awesome.
I'd love to see you guys. I will have some in real life giveaway stuff, giving away some Gucci stuff, real life stuff. So I'm excited for that. I'll be there from April 10th through April 14th. So come find me. I'll have my glasses on. Hair might be up in a bun, but regardless, the blonde hair will be there. And I'll be there for 4 days. And if you guys like podcasts like this, I talk to people all the fucking time. We had a conversation about VR and AR worlds of Crypto Cities last week. We had Art Blocks on last week. We had PO from the Nifty Morning Show last week. We had a conversation with ReNFT about NFT renting and lending. We had Binance NFT the week before that. We had Hate Beast. We have all sorts of conversations about literally all things Web3. I'm just obsessed with the industry as a whole. So if you guys like stuff like that, make sure you give us a follow. I'm posting stuff all the fucking time. And for people who are in here since the beginning, I appreciate all of you. If you came in 10 minutes ago, I still appreciate you. This was a great conversation. If you enjoyed it, hit that retweet button for me, smash the likes, follow everyone, all the co-hosts. This is going to be a really, really cool next few months. I'm really excited to follow the journey. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, shout out everyone there. Shout out Bev Fury fam. Shout out Joyage Kingdom. Until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful you're live watching this video or this Twitter space stream.